We need to talk about ideas, good ones and bad ones. We need to learn stuff about the world. We need an honest, intelligent, thought-provoking, and entertaining review of what the hell happened on this planet in the last 7 days. We need to sit back and listen to the Iron Fist and the Velvet Glove.
Hello and welcome back, dear listener. Yes, the Iron Fist and the Velvet Glove podcast, episode 482. I'm Trevor, aka the Iron Fist. I'm not that well. I've got a bit of a cold coming on. I have coughing fits. I'll have to mute the microphone occasionally as one of those comes on. Have sips of tea to reduce the tickle in my throat. Fortunately, I've got a couple of able assistants with me who will be able to carry things through my moments of incapacity. Up there in regional Queensland, Scott the Velvet Glove. How are you, Scott?
Great, thanks, Trevor. G'day, Trevor. G'day, Joe. G'day, listeners. I hope everyone's doing well.
And Joe the Tech Guy.
Evening, all.
Yes. So yeah, tonight, maybe something a bit different. I was just thinking, a bit inspired actually by, I saw this clip, and I'll play it shortly, of all of these extremely wealthy men, you know, Zuckerbergs and Apple CEO and a whole bunch of very, very rich and powerful men, all kissing the ring, bending the knee, sucking up to Donald Trump at a meeting at the White House. And it just nearly made me puke as these rich guys were just telling Trump exactly what he wanted to hear. And I was just thinking about powerful people. And like, these guys are so powerful, yet they want more. They are never satisfied. Like, they know Trump is a prick. And yet they'll praise him and tell him what he wants to hear and make themselves look shallow and ridiculous in history's page books because they want stuff.
And he'll
keep
still
him happy.
shaft them.
What's that? Yes, he could still.
But he does.
Yes, but they've made a calculation that just suck up to him and it'll help them in their efforts to get even more power or to keep what power they have, but just to keep playing the game. They're just insatiable, these people. So
I was very surprised to see Bill Gates in there kissing up the way he was. Now, he'd always struck me as a moderate sort of influence on the billionaire class, but clearly he's not.
No. I'll play the clip. Let's do that. Get straight into it. So here we go. I might pause it occasionally to tell you who's talking, or I'll just talk over the top of it. See what works. We'll try it.
Well, thanks for hosting us. This is quite a group to get together.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor to work here at the White House and to work for you.
Very grateful for your administration support.
We look forward to working together, and thanks for your leadership.
We're so grateful for that support.
Thank you so much, obviously, for bringing us all together and the policies that you have put in place. Thank you very much. And also, I wanted to thank Madam First Lady for hosting.
I want to thank you for including me this evening. It's incredible to be among everyone here, particularly you and the First Lady. I also want to thank you for helping American companies around the world. I want to thank the First Lady for focusing on education.
First of all, to echo the comments of Tim and others, thank you so much for getting us all together, and thank you for being such a pro-business, pro-innovation president.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you for incredible leadership, including getting this group together.
Thank you.
Is that not just sick? Like, they're all big name people there.
So, some of them looked a bit dark. I think I should be checking their residency status.
Yes, some Indian tech gurus there. So,
Yes.
You know, honestly, these people have no moral compass, have they? To just be ignoring all of the ills that Donald Trump has foisted on the world. Someone like Bill Gates, who's, you know, got an interest in the health of people and the things that Trump has done to
Maybe
discredit
he figures that
health science.
Picking a fight with Trump or even just ignoring Trump is going to lead to worse outcomes for more people.
Yeah.
kind of stuck with him for president for the next 3 years, aren't you?
I doubt that's his calculation. Some honesty is required if you genuinely thought that he's a bombastic fool and is a danger to society. Just think, if I suck up to him for 3 years, that'll be a better option for people. I just don't see that calculation. It seems to me rampant
of course, if they had
self-interest.
any guts, they'd possibly poison his food or something. But
yeah,
I don't see that happening.
Yeah, they could get a beef Wellington recipe from Australia, perhaps.
Not possibly.
Does that depress you, Scott? These billionaires just gathered.
It does depress me, and it's particularly sickening to see Bill Gates there, because I always thought he was one of the more moderate influences on those class of people, but apparently not. Now, he can't be comfortable with what RFK Jr. is doing to the vaccination in the United States, but he doesn't seem to mind kissing up to the guy that said you can't take Tylenol because that'll send your kid autistic. You know, that sort of shit.
Yeah, that's the latest one.
I know.
Tylenol.
It's just I know. It's just basically paracetamol. You know, we call it Panadol down here, but they call it Tylenol over there. You know, it's just that. And look, ladies and gentlemen, do not take health advice from a podcast. But for God's sake, paracetamol is not going to kill you, and it's not going to harm your unborn child. You know.
Well, it could kill you. Just
yeah, but you have to take a shitload of it before it actually ends up killing you. It's just
potato chips could kill you if you eat enough of them, I suppose.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it's paracetamol. The therapeutic dose compared to the dangerous dose is actually quite low. It's one of the lowest drugs.
Yeah, just these people bowing and scraping before him because they just want more. So I was thinking about power. We're going to talk about power because so much of the topics that we cover are really just about the super wealthy, the super powerful exercising their power.
It actually reminds me, there's a video of Putin with all his oligarchs gathered around the table. It reminds me of that.
Were they his cabinet ministers or were they?
No, they were oligarchs. And it's the famous one where he says, "Oh, don't go and steal my pen." Or that's my pen, give it back to me, which apparently was a setup to make him look more important in front of the cameras.
Right. Well, there's one where one of the guys hadn't signed. And he said, "Where's your signature?" And forced the guy to come up and sign.
I think that was the one where he then goes, "Yeah, that's my pen, give it back afterwards," or something.
Yes, yeah.
But
So occasionally powerful people lose, but they lose to other powerful people.
Yes.
It's hard to find examples where powerful interests lose to the small guy.
Okay, well, the only one I actually found about that was, and this is basically, I knew about it and everything else, but I had it reminded to me when I was watching The Hack on Stan. Now, that was where the Murdoch empire was basically put on the ropes by a British journalist from The Guardian, and he actually got them to admit that they had hacked phones and everything else. The result was that Rupert Murdoch stepped away from taking over Sky B in Britain, and he also had to sack Rebecca. What's her name? Oh, no, she actually resigned. I don't believe she's still working for him or anything else. And it's just, that was the only thing I came up with where the little guy had actually beaten the big guy. And that was probably not the best example, but it was okay.
Yeah, ultimately they kept going in business. They still had the rest of their media interests, but
they're all saying that had he have actually taken a Sky B, he would have had a successful business and everything that he could have leveraged to purchase more shit around the world, which means he would have been completely unstoppable.
Yes.
Now, I know what you're saying, that he's still in business and he's still wreaking havoc through Fox News and everything else, and Sky News here in Australia.
I'm trying to think of examples. The only one I can think of recently was the increase in the coal tax in Queensland when coal miners were making super profits and a Labor government said, right, if you're, the price goes above a certain amount, then we're taking an extra percentage amount. And that's been really good for the Queensland state government budget.
It has been.
And Crucifili has been under pressure to reverse that.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to because the money is so good.
Exactly.
From it.
Have you seen certain allegedly litigious people have been knocked back in their ISDS attempt?
Yes, Clive Palmer.
Yes.
Yes. So
ISDS is, sorry?
Investor state dispute.
No worries.
Whatever it is.
Yes. So Clive Palmer had he had been refused a development mining deal in Western Australia in 2012. In 2020, the Western Australian government thought, shit, we could be in trouble here. They urgently passed legislation to make sure he couldn't sue them. And then Clive Palmer purported to be a foreign investor.
Yes.
And of Asian descent.
His Singaporean company basically sued the WA government, I think.
Yes. And fortunately, it appears that he lost that case at this instance with the adjudicator declaring that he didn't qualify as a foreign investor.
Basically, however, the Australian government has said that future ISDS clauses will not exist. Future negotiations won't have an ISDS. Yeah.
Oh, in any of these free trade agreements?
Yep.
Is that right? They're going to stop doing them?
They've said they've seen how people can basically venue shop for arbitration with these ISDS clauses, and so they're going to stop doing them in future.
Right, there we go. So, dear listener, these free trade agreements that we have with various countries where we basically say, we'll get rid of the tariffs, you get rid of your tariffs for us, and here's our arrangement. Oh, and by the way, we each agree that neither country will do something that might impinge on the other country's multinational companies from working and trading in the other country, like freedom to trade type of clause. So, and if there's a dispute over that and a claim for damages, it will be heard in these strange courts of arbitration, which are not proper courts. They're like lawyers sitting in an office in Hong Kong or Dubai or places like that. They're not proper judges who will look at the agreement and make a decision. And really poor rules of evidence. And basically, so what happened, for example, years ago in the Philip Morris case was Philip Morris objected to the plain packaging rules on cigarettes, claiming that it took away their ability to brand cigarettes, which was an inhibition on their free trade and was in breach of the free trade agreement. And, so also other companies that might want to open up a mine somewhere or might have a mine operating, and the country in question says, we either don't want to grant the mining license or we want to close down the mine for, say, environmental or health reasons, then these companies would say, that's in breach of our free trade agreement, go off to these arbitrators. Extremely expensive for the countries to defend and extremely risky, of very, very, very high awards being made against them. So, and these things are conducted in secret. Like when they're negotiating these free trade agreements, those sorts of clauses are hidden from us. We don't even see them. And it's not till the deal's done that they say, we've got this free trade agreement with America or, and, by the way, here's this massive big obligation that we've all agreed to.
They originally were bought in on the back of various countries nationalising foreign-owned, oil or whatever the resources were. And so this was to protect, if an American company owned an Australian coal mine, that Australia couldn't just nationalise it and go, well, sod you, you're not getting any compensation for it, which is fair enough. But people have seen this and gone, oh, here's a nice loophole that we can use. It was never intended to be used for companies to sue when a government makes a decision on behalf of the people. Well, having said that, nationalising things is quite often in the best interest of its citizens. So,
indeed, like don't sign one because you might want to nationalise.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, Clive Palmer lost on that round and has appealed. But that's not a case of the powerful losing, because that's the Commonwealth of Australia versus Clive Palmer. Like, that's a fight between powerful interests. It's not something where power has lost out to little people in a way. In that sort of fight. What's the other one I was thinking of? The coal mining one was a good one. Something like that ABC defamation case with that Lattouf. Can't remember her other name. A small guys win a defamation case, but it doesn't really...
Letitia Lattouf?
I can't remember exactly, but small people can win defamation cases, but, unfortunately the defamation laws in Australia are really designed to keep small people, powerless people, quiet.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you remember the Simon Singh court case in the UK?
Simon Singh? Not Simon Says?
No, Simon Singh. He is... I don't know. I mean, he's a mathematician. He's been a TV presenter. He wrote an article about chiropractic and basically said it was a bunch of pseudoscience. It was quackery. And the UK Chiropractic Board, whatever they call themselves, sued him for defamation. And he basically, it was seen as a big free speech case, and lots of people threw money for, donations to him. And he won that in the UK High Court. And I think the UK government then changed the defamation laws after that.
Right.
So to make it basically to stop. Difficult. Yeah, because historically defamation, anybody who has deep pockets can litigiously sue somebody just to shut them down because they know that they can't afford to go to court, and even if they are correct, they can't afford to take the case to court.
Yeah. So in the States now, Trump is threatening defamation against different media groups.
Yes.
And he starts the case and everybody says it's impossible for him to win.
Yeah.
But the media groups pay him off anyway.
Well, the media groups who've paid him off have had acquisitions in front of his government.
Yes.
And they figure that if they don't play nice and bribe him, settle out of court, he's going to then stop whatever business activities they are doing that requires government permission.
Exactly right. It's an extortion racket.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice merger you've got there. Shame if anything happened to it.
Yes, and I'm not real happy about the defamation that you did. Yeah.
Yes, it was defamation to allow Hillary Clinton to have a half an hour segment on the news section or whatever it was. That's what he tried suing for.
The whole freedom of speech thing that America's famous for is just deteriorating before our eyes, isn't it?
Absolutely. The Jimmy Kimmel thing for a start.
Yes.
Who didn't actually say what everyone was claiming that he said.
But, Trump going at him, threatening his whatever, media organisation he was working for, like the President of the United States openly saying, these people are working for Democrats and he's better be sacked, or we're going to look at the license that these people have for distributing media. Well, it was the head of
the FCC that made that comment, actually.
So, famous for their, free speech, but it's deteriorating. And even that Charlie Kirk, who was supposedly famous for, I like to listen to all views and just have the argument. But when people want to say nasty things about him, all those people came out and said, well, if you're going to say something nasty like that, we're going to take away your driver's license and we're going to do all these things to you and you'll be sacked. And people were sacked and removed.
Well, there was a website that was set up to list all the people who'd said bad things about Charlie Kirk.
Right.
So that, you could not employ them. And apparently everyone who signed up to get that information has had their details leaked.
Right.
So they've been doxed rather than the people that they were trying to dox, if you know what doxing is.
There we go. Very good. Yeah. So much of what we talk about in these various topics, here are my thoughts. So the super wealthy use their power to shape our society in ways that benefit them, but not us. And they buy or indoctrinate political leaders, drive out potential leaders who can't be bought or indoctrinated, and they shape our culture through narrative control so that we don't understand or appreciate what they are doing. And when we do figure it out, we are powerless to do anything about it. So most of the things we talk about kind of fit into that statement somehow. So, what do we talk about lately? Of course, wars, Gaza and other wars going around the place. And these are largely the USA military-industrial complex encouraging wars all over the planet because they want to sell weapons.
It's not true. Trump has ended 7 wars in his presidency.
Right. That was in his application for a
Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel Peace Prize, yeah.
Not that he can remember the names of any of the countries, but
yes,
he's sure he stopped them.
Yeah, but, in terms of international things, wars, it's large multinational military-industrial complex types who are lobbying, encouraging, and working in the background so that the USA and other countries spend money on weapons and make money for these companies. Like, that's what's driving so much of what goes on. Inequality around the world between the West and developing countries. So initially it was colonial powers, basically extracting wealth from these poorer countries. But then that's just been entrenched by the United States through the World Bank and the IMF, as we've discussed many times in this podcast, refusing to allow these smaller countries to shelter an industry so that they can nurture it and get it competitive and then unleash it on the world. And instead, they force them into loan agreements with the IMF whereby their economies are completely opened up and they're forced to sell all their infrastructure and all their goodies and all their resources and can never get ahead. Like, that is power working at an international level. Happens all the time. All the time. And then what's the other one that we've been working on? Oh, just climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is big fossil fuel companies working in whatever ways they can.
It's all a scam. It's not really happening.
Yes. Well, exactly. As I said, they shape our culture through narrative control. So, which is, what's happening there with climate change denial, in the same way that cigarette manufacturers were conning people.
Also aided by foreign states that actually thrive on disorder in the countries.
Yes, because powerful interests within those countries want to maintain their power that they've got and would rather...
Oh, but also, it's very easy for a government to spend a small amount of money buying...
Oh, Joe's gone.
Joe's dropped out.
Yeah, mid-sentence, completely disappeared.
Yeah.
That, I don't know, Scott. He was talking about powerful interests and all of a sudden...
silenced.
Yes, those powerful interests pulled the plug on you, Joe.
They did.
Yeah, don't know how they did that, but they...
No.
got you mid-sentence. Yeah. Did you finish what you wanted to say then?
It was just that, there are definitely advertising campaigns that aren't trying to push so the fossil fuel industry is trying to push that climate change isn't real, but there are countries that absolutely thrive on the discourse because all the time that you're worrying about internal politics, you're not worrying about what your neighbour is doing.
Yep. So the culture wars are just this distraction to a large extent. It doesn't really help the powerful interests that much in the sense of, who do they care whether a transgender swimmer is competing or not? But it's the culture wars that they generate and the tribalism that they generate is what's handy and useful for them. So
there's the old cartoon of the billionaire sitting down with a plate of cookies going, look at that black person over there, he's trying to steal your cookie.
Yes. And because the goddamn Christians with their prosperity gospel are really big supporters of the sort of neoliberal ideology, then, okay, if they come with a basket of crazy ideas to do with culture war issues, the rich and powerful let them run with it because they're an ally to have on side in sort of keeping the masses under control.
Well, and also, the rich and powerful deserve it. Obviously, God blesses them.
Yes. So domestically, what are our problems here? So I was thinking internationally, the big problems are wars, climate change, poverty and inequality. Easy to see big, powerful interests at play stopping those problems being solved. Domestically, when we think of the big problems in Australia, one of the first that comes to mind is actually housing.
Yep.
And kind of on the face of it, it's not really so much powerful interests gaining from the housing crisis, but it's like a secondary effect of the low tax big government is bad sort of mantra that came with neoliberalism. So powerful interests want less tax so that they can move in and pay less themselves, but also as the services disappear, they come in and provide a private enterprise version of the service that's been lost.
Yeah, which is precisely what I'm doing.
But also the whole, free market, big government is bad. Actually, they don't want a free market because they want a regulated market. They want it regulated in their interest.
Yes.
And they want a big government in terms of looking after their assets. So they want a police force. They want the judiciary so that they can take you to court.
But, the fact that, sort of the upper middle class has a lot of investment properties isn't so much a rich and powerful thing in itself, but it's a byproduct of that Howard era neoliberalism, low taxation mantra.
But I would say the vast majority of people with investment properties have one or two. And there's a very, very small subset of people, quite a number of those are in Parliament, who own lots of houses.
Quite a few in Parliament have 4, 5, 6,
I think there are like 2, 3 MPs that don't have an investment property.
I think Scott's friend Max Chandler Marr was one of the few that didn't own a property at all.
Right.
No, he was renting.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't describe him as my friend. I didn't like him.
No, that's why. Yeah. What else did I have domestically? Resource royalties are a big problem in Australia, where we've just given away our royalties, our mineral wealth without proper exchange.
Also, the whole uncertainty around renewable energy sources has just made it really difficult to build a proper business strategy for any company. So people are just not willing to invest in renewable energy because they don't know what the next government is going to do.
because the Queensland LNP came in and cancelled a bunch of renewable projects.
Yeah, the pumped hydro is one of them.
The pumped hydro up here was cancelled.
And there was some wind farm somewhere else, I think,
possibly.
was cancelled, and I think a solar farm or something. Some other projects were cancelled as well. So, to your point, yeah, that's right. And of course, big business would be nuclear. Whereas solar is, rooftop solar, for example, is mum and dad type stuff. It's a decentralisation of power. And the people pushing for nuclear, that's a big business. That's a big business friendly idea.
Yeah, it takes huge investment for.
Yeah. So that's domestically, and then just lack of time that people have to think. Like when you think about the Industrial Revolution, and then the computer revolution, and now AI, we all should be sitting back 3 days a week. We should not be.
We should not be working as hard.
Working our asses off. Like when you see these videos and you see YouTube stuff of amazing agricultural equipment.
Yep.
Where one man on a tractor or these greenhouses that are producing tons of food with minimal human involvement. It's so easy to feed ourselves.
It was something like 50% of the population up until 100 and something years ago were involved in agriculture. And that's now, I don't know what it is, 120.
Probably barely 5% of the population be involved in agriculture now.
And I mean, you look at a factory with producing cars, and it's all these robots tinkering away at them. Like, so the toys that we want, the food that we want, even the housing that we want to a large extent with robotic sort of construction that is possible. We should, with so much being done so easily, we should be able to sit back and be working 3 days a week and just relaxing. But we're in this mindset where it's seen as good to be a hard working person.
Consumption?
To be slaving away at a job, the honour of a hard day's toil. There's plenty of honour in just sitting around and playing a guitar, reading a book, spending some time just lounging around.
It's one of those things. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time off work. Now, I'm just getting to that point now where for the first time in my life, now this is big for me to say this, I got bored watching television last Friday.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that is very big for me to actually say that. So I've actually got to find something else to do with myself. Right. But I do not want to go back into 5 days a week. I just think to myself, 3, possibly 4 days a week would be more than enough to keep me occupied. And then I can go and do something else at the SES and everything else, on the other day a week. It's just, I'm very, very fortunate. I'm a child of privilege. I have done not anything spectacularly brilliant out of my own self-interest or anything else. The only thing I did was I got very lucky buying that house. It was on a double block. I sold it for an obscene amount of money. It's just, that was it. That was the only thing that I could really put just on myself. The rest of it's come from the fact that I was the 5th child of Noel and Muriel Clark. That's why I'm at that point where I have to debate with myself whether or not I can actually pull up stumps and not go back to work. Anyway.
Yeah, but why aren't we talking about, how many years will it be till we're down to a 4-day week? How many days will it be till we're down to a 3-day week? Why aren't we ever talking about that?
I don't know. It's one of those things. I just think to myself, the productivity gains that we have had in this country have resulted in
bigger
increases in the bottom line of businesses, but it hasn't really resulted in any big increase in salaries and wages that are paid to the little guy.
Our leisure time is so much less
than
what it probably was for a medieval villager.
Mm.
But
they used to have to walk to work. It's just that you have to drive to work now. It's probably at least an hour on the road. It's at least 2 hours on the road a day.
But we also live in huge houses. We have gardens. We fly internationally. I mean, I saw an article that was saying that the cost of an international flight these days is the same in dollars as it was back in the 80s.
Right. But
what
the real
was
dollar.
Yeah.
Yep.
In real money value, it's dropped considerably.
Mm. Yep. But then it's comparatively cheap to build a plane.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm. Yeah. So,
television was a luxury. A telephone was a luxury. We now swap out our mobile phone, which is a computer, every 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
Some people do it every 2 years.
Mm.
It's one of those things like, my television, I had to replace it because I ended up with some black lines down the center of it and all that sort of stuff. And I went and got a 5-inch larger television for $600. It was $300 cheaper than what I paid for my last television. It's just they appear to be getting cheaper.
Mm. So why aren't we just going? We should be aiming for a 3-day week, but we don't talk about it. We've been culturally indoctrinated to glorify the work ethic.
Yeah.
In that sort of Protestant work ethic.
To glorify buying lots of shiny stuff.
Yes. Yep. Indoctrinated into that as well.
If you were willing to live a frugal, simple life, you could absolutely work 3 days a week.
Yes, but we don't talk about it as a thing.
No.
So until you actually retire, people don't talk about 35-year-olds just checking out and just going to... It's not things that we aspire our community to head towards, but we should. We're just having...
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but,
do you think it's a bad idea, Scott?
No, I don't think it's a bad idea to aim for a 3-day week. However, I do love international travel. I do love ducking over to Hong Kong at least once a year. Vietnam's probably my new favourite spot. I've been
Who says you can't have that and a 3-day week?
Yeah, I know. I can because of my personal circumstances.
Yes,
however, if you're starting out in life, you've only got 3 days a week. I just don't see that the employers are going to say, yeah, you can work 60% of the time for 100% of your salary. It's just, it is what it is.
But if all of these efficiencies have come in the last 100 years that enable one person to do so much, in theory, it should have freed up a lot of time.
It should have freed up a hell of a lot more time than what it has. But it hasn't. When I look back on my time at Paul Chadwick and that sort of stuff, they're quite proud of themselves. They said, "Oh, every desk has got its own computer," which is fine. But by the time I was just talking to a partner there that was pulling up stumps from his job, and he says, "Well, he's no longer got a secretary. They've only got 2 secretaries in the whole firm, whereas back in the day they used to each have their own secretary." It's just gone of those days. They seem to do their own typing now.
When I was an apprentice, we had, if I wanted something typed up, I'd write it up, send it to the secretaries to type up. If I wanted something drawn, I'd draw a freehand sketch and send it to the draftsman.
Yep.
Now I'm expected to be an expert in Visio, an expert in Word. So there's a lot more, a lot varied work that I'm doing now.
Yeah, it is. It's
back in the day when I was a junior lawyer, we had dictaphones.
Yeah.
God, you could get so much done with a dictaphone and a good secretary. My God, you could generate some stuff. So Alison's in the chat room. Alison, Alison would have had a dictaphone and a secretary who was there typing away and grabbing stuff. So it was a very efficient way to work. Bring back the dictaphone and secretary, I say.
Well, I don't think we need to go quite back that far, but it's just that it is one of those things. Yeah, you can talk to your computer. You can idea of a keyboard in the future will probably be redundant because we would just be talking to the computer to do everything. It's just one of those things. And AI eventually will not be as dumb as it is now. It is going to become more intelligent. But I don't believe it's going to replace as many people as they like to think it's going to replace.
Alison says absolutely. Like, I know you can talk to a computer and, if you can't type, which I can't, it'll, do a reasonable job. But with a dictaphone, you could just say to your secretary, go to the XYZ file and do a letter back to Joe Blow saying blah, 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 blah. And you didn't have to look up their address, their full name, the file number, all that sort of stuff. It was all what the secretary would do. And then you could move on to your next thing.
And even better, you could say, can I borrow your dictaphone?
Yeah, but see, nowadays you don't even type up a letter. You just send him an email.
Yes.
Use your finger like everybody else. Come on.
Yes. I'm from the Search and Destroy School of Typing.
Right. Hunt and peck, as it's otherwise known.
Yes. So, Alison, I could dictate faster than my secretary could type it. That's right. Yeah. Those are the days, Alison.
Geez, you're sounding bloody old now, aren't you?
Yeah. So yes, our problems, I've listed some, and I just keep seeing powerful interests prevailing all the time. Throw in useful idiots like religion to provide the opiate to help the powerful. It subdues dissent, and religious stories are manipulated to justify religious wars, culture, and oops, I've just lost my screen there. Hang on a second, I'll get that back up. Religious wars are used to justify. There it is. Religious wars, culture wars, and prosperity gospel. So religion is just this handy tool for powerful interests to manipulate our culture. People fall for it, and it's media control to control the narrative. As we've just been talking about, long, hard work is noble. China and Russia are evil. Faith is good. Government is bad. Socialism bad. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Don't read a book, but watch those Broncos. Trickle down works. Entrepreneurs are the innovators. So that was just my thoughts about as I look at the various topics that we deal with, and I just see big power at play. The other one is just democracy. I've been banging on about this as well lately, Scott. Is just proving to be too susceptible to modern methods of misinformation.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things. I've read something the other day that said Trump is not the symptom, and Trump is not the cause. He is a symptom of the whole thing. But I don't think we should throw out the baby with the bathwater over that. We've still got to.
Where's the baby in all this?
I think the baby is democracy. We've got to keep that alive.
People now, getting what they want. That baby went down the sinkhole a long time ago, didn't it? Am I mixing
I suppose it did, because you've also got Nigel Farage and everything out there. He's actually saying he's just representing what the people want. Now, Nigel Farage is probably a arrogant fool.
He's also a toff.
Yeah.
He's not a man of the people. No matter how much he pretends he is.
Yeah. It's just that, and Donald Trump is also, he's a toff with an American accent. He's
what an average American's idea of what a billionaire should be.
I suppose so. It's just,
if you want to do a caricature of a billionaire, Donald Trump is your caricature.
He just looks like the old Monopoly man, because he's looking very fat too, by the way.
Sort of a dystopian Hunger Games type version, yes.
But I mean, he's opulent. He has the gold toilets. He has the, he's everything that a poor person would imagine a billionaire would live like.
Have you seen the comparisons of the Oval Office when he meets people? And its previous sort of decorating style.
Yeah, the gold leaf everywhere.
And now there's just gold everywhere. It's terrible.
It is terrible what he's doing. He's pissing over everything. Like he's And God knows what this bloody ballroom's going to look like. I imagine it'll be trashy.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be very glitzy. But somebody said you don't spend $200 million building a ballroom for a house that you intend moving out of in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But like, take the example of very fast trains. So China is crisscrossed now with thousands and thousands of kilometres of very fast trains, an amazing network that hasn't stopped and is being extended. Like, really, really good. You cannot imagine that happening now in a democracy anywhere on the planet.
No, probably not.
But also, the thing with technology is you get a leapfrogging effect. So because China missed out on the car revolution, they now, when they have become wealthy, they are able to leapfrog us with huge investment in public infrastructure, whereas we have a sunk cost in roads and people have cars. And so we saw this in France with the internet, because Minitel in France, which was dial-up modems, little box that you had on your telephone, it was so good, it did what you needed. The internet in France just didn't take off for so long, and they were left behind because their previous generation of technology was so good.
Right.
And I wonder whether this is the same with China, because they didn't have the roads and they didn't have the cars, that it was easy for the government to go, yes, we can invest in a decent rail network.
Yeah,
America can't even maintain the subways and stuff that it's got. Like, they're just
that's
decrepit,
because the
horrible places.
The Americans have they swallowed far too much Ronald Reagan than they could afford. And they've got this ridiculous mantra that you've got to reduce taxes at all costs. And it's just gone way too far over there because, if you look at what the tax cuts were in what the tax rates were in the 1950s, they were incredibly higher compared to what they are now. And no one complained about them. And the Republicans always look back on the 1950s as a golden age. The golden age was when the middle class were workers and that sort of stuff, and they were in highly unionized industries. They were getting paid relatively well. And if you were earning a reasonable amount of money, you're paying 90%.
Yes, the upper 5-10% of society was paying enormous tax rate. Yeah.
Yeah, this idea of get our taxes as low as possible, but then you end up paying for your own health care, which is a huge expense, and you pay for your schooling, which is another huge expense, and you pay for, and you're going, actually, are you saving yourself money? If you're rich, yes, because you're paying, 30-40% less tax, and you're only paying out 2% of your income on your additional costs. But for the average person, that's a huge burden.
Well, the way the system's working, it's the powerful who just keep winning and the powerless who keep losing. And they're losing because of the misinformation, that they don't realise what's happening. And then for the ones who do realise, they can't do anything about it anyway. So I don't know what the solution is.
Well, I think the solution is
eat the rich.
No, it's one of those things. I just think to myself that a revolution is coming in the United States. Now, whether or not it becomes a violent revolution, you end up having people losing their heads at the guillotine. I don't know, but I could actually see that actually happening in that country, where eventually they do actually behead the rich.
I don't know that a revolution is going to be possible in the future when you see all of the mechanical, robotic type stuff that's being developed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those things. And I think
violent revolution is going to be tricky to pull off against.
I mean, the where the word sabotage comes from, don't you?
No.
So sabo is a wooden clog, and the workers in the mills threw their wooden clogs in the machinery to break it.
Right.
So the robots will still need people to service them and people to program them. And if you get a disaffected person, in the system, they can throw a clog in the works. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Trevor.
The rich and powerful might only need a limited number of people to keep happy, to maintain the machines that keep them in power.
But during slavery, the white people had the power, and they empathized with the black people, and they rose up and changed the laws, and that was against the vested interest of the southern landowners. I can't see, they might have some minions working on very good pay, but I think that they will be shocked at the suffering of their fellow men.
Okay.
A small percentage will, and can't live with themselves, and will sabotage the machinery of power.
Okay, so the drones and the robots will be switched off. Okay, that's a happy thought. Thank you, Joe.
John Siemens, who will be the first up against the wall when the revolution comes? Musk, and I think you probably hit the nail on the head there. I think he will be the first to go.
So who can be caught first? But yeah, it's a long way off.
Because it's just a long way off. It's just one of those things, and I think that we've got to actually sit down with our wealthy in our country and explain to them that you're going to have to start paying more tax, or your heads are going to end up on pikes.
Not enough people think that way.
That's a reality.
Say again?
I said it's not a threat.
No, it's a reality.
People go, oh, you can't threaten. This isn't. When the income equality becomes large enough, there is a revolution, and it is usually violent.
And that's what happened in Russia, and it's what happened in France.
Yep.
And both those countries lost their royal families because of the discrepancy in wealth.
Yep.
And I suppose you really need societal decay and collapse.
Yeah, exactly. But if it continues the way it is going, I think the three of us will be pushing up daisies by the time it comes around. But if it continues to go the way it's going, then I think it could actually happen.
They're certainly on track for it in the States.
It's just one of those things. It's completely out of control over there.
Did you see the one a video of some ICE agents who are roaming around the streets? And this guy was following them, playing the theme from Star Wars Stormtrooper Patrol or something.
Right.
Yeah, that was very amusing. And one of the guys turned around and told him to shut it up, didn't he?
Yeah. But
I wouldn't be at all. I mean, you saw the shooting that happened in the ICE facility.
No. What was that one?
Somebody allegedly broke into an ICE facility, shot 3 of the detainees, and then turned the gun on themselves. And the bullets had anti-ICE scrawled on them, allegedly.
Anti-ICE, but they shot the detainees.
Exactly, not the ICE agents.
How's that work?
Exactly. It sounds incredibly suspicious. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if people started taking pot shots at ICE agents. When you have neo-Nazi thugs wandering the streets, somebody is going to do something about it, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I just cannot believe that he's throwing fuel on the fire the way he is done. That's all.
John in the chat room, beer next week, Trev. Yes, if you're down yes, John, give me a call. On the coast all this week, half and half next week. Speaking of my movements here, I had a haircut the other day. $18 haircut. That sounds cheap.
Yeah, that is very cheap.
Not for me.
Yeah. Yes, Joe, you just run the clippers over yourself.
Razor blade, mate.
Razor blade. Of course, in getting the haircut, it was an old school barbershop down here on the coast. And I had to listen to some boomers talking. Because the barber's a nice guy, but people sit in his chair and they talk about stuff. And one guy, just praising Trump's speech to the UN. That was the topic of discussion. That was the topic of discussion at the barbershop. 2 old codgers, one the barber himself and one his customer, both of them in their late 60s. And their topic of discussion was, wasn't it great how Trump gave it to them in his UN speech?
I've seen colostomy bags that were less full of shit.
Yep.
How could anyone have been praising Trump's speech to the UN?
As I was listening, I was reading the complimentary copy of the Daily Telegraph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bloody $18, but anyway, we just got a couple of minutes left. I'm interested in this one. But I'm moving away from big picture down to small picture. Virgin Australia is now allowing customers to bring cats and dogs on board flights. Of all the outrages we've discussed in the last hour, is there a bigger outrage than that one? I've got a problem with cats and dogs in an aeroplane myself.
Yeah, so do I. I just think it was a ridiculous thing for them to do.
Are they in the cabin or are they in?
No, they've got to be in carry-on. They're going to be in carry-on bags in the cabin, though, don't they?
Something like that. Yes.
Right.
And it's got to be for small dogs and small cats, so they can actually sit them under the chair in front of you, can't they?
I just don't know how they would fit.
Yeah, I know.
Under your feet.
Yeah, I mean, knowing how taking a cat to a vet, they don't shut up all the way there, whinging away. I can't. I dread to imagine what it would be like on a flight, like having a screaming baby. I should think. Although people are allowed to bring screaming babies on board flights, so
they put them in one of those cages under their feet, maybe. Yeah.
We flew back to Europe when my daughter was about 18 months, and if you're on one of the bulkhead seats, they put a carry cot. So a little bassinet that clips in and the baby can sleep in that.
Oh.
But the problem is every time the seatbelt light goes on, you have to take the baby out and put them on a lap strap on your lap. And my daughter refused to sleep all the way to Singapore. And then as we took off from Singapore, she was so tired, she just crashed, and we had thunderstorms coming out of Singapore. 18 times that seatbelt light went on, and we had to get her up, wake her up, take her out of the bassinet and put her on her lap.
Dear idea. Anyway, I'm a poo-pooing the idea of animals on board a plane flight. They're uncomfortable enough as they are, I say. Get somebody to dog sit or cat sit if you've got to go away. Use a kennel.
I mean, traveling internationally, you've normally got to go through quarantine. Even with vaccination, it's still 6 weeks or something.
Yep. All right, Clive Palmer we did. I don't think I needed to do any of the other stuff because we've kind of reached the end of the road there anyway. John says, I bet they never even watched the speech, just the Fox Cliff Notes. Probably correct, actually. They would have been watching the Sky News Cliff Notes, I reckon.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd realise he's a bumbling idiot.
Yes. So, and just one final comment. All these things are depressing. This one isn't the biggest in the world, but scenes from the Ryder Cup. So this is where the European golfers play against the American golfers in a teams event. And on this occasion, it was held somewhere in America and the European team won. But the behaviour of the American crowd just hurling abuse and poor sportsmanship at the European players was just abysmal. And these are, golfers are your privileged white males, big MAGA crowd probably, and the scenes you see are just truly disgusting of people throwing beer cans at the wife of Rory McIlroy, and just the awful, awful behaviour of this crowd. One more sign of the disintegration of American culture and society, I say. Another example. If you see it on social media, stop for a moment to observe a country that's losing its civility. Right. Okay, gentlemen, I'm done. Thank you in the chat room for watching. I keep saying we'll be back next week, and it often turns out be back in 2 weeks. Who knows?
I'm not available next week. I'm down in Brisbane.
Okay. All right. We might catch up with you, Scott. How long are you down for? Well,
I'm just
we'll talk about it off air.
3 days, yeah.
Okay. All right. We will be back at some stage next week or the week after. Bye for now.
Good night. It's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from him.
Good night.